Hello. Thank you for tuning in to Lawana's Urban Voices. I appreciate you. I appreciate the people who do listen and who do respond. Thank you for the likes. I appreciate that. That's so thoughtful. Um, Today, I want to talk about some of these kids. So, there was a story of this um, young black girl having a fight with this young white girl. It got videotaped, and in the fight, the black girl is like kicking this little white girl's butt, slamming her head in the concrete. I mean, just beating her down. But the little girl now is in ICU. The little um, white girl is in ICU because she's got some brain swelling, and they don't know how much brain damage she actually has. So now they're charging, of course, the 13, I'm not sure how old they were. She's a minor, so they're charging the minor with aggravated assault and things like that. So they're actually charging this young black girl for a serious crime for what she did to this other child, which they should. Now that particular story happened in St. Louis, in um Massachusetts. There was six little white eighth graders that were having like their own little group chat, and they were threatening violence on the kids of color at their school. Not only threatening to beat them up, saying if this was, slavery time, I would want to buy this one as a slave. Um, just making really hateful comments and very racial comments, but threatening physical violence against these kids. Well, the DA of their city, I think it's Bonita or something like that. But anyway, the DA is charging these kids with um, charging them with a crime for the threat of violence against the kids of color, saying that hatred and racism will not be allowed or tolerated in their community. And then you have so many other stories I found of minors under 18 doing all of these heinous crimes: theft, shooting, robbery, beating up old people. I mean, just a ton of teenagers, getting away with, doing all these crimes. And my thought was, hmm, as a parent, I know you can't be with your kids 24/7. I get that. I mean, I do. I get that. It's just you cannot be with your kids 24/7, especially if you have to work. There's just no way. You have to trust that your kids are going to do the right thing. If you're raising your kids to do the right thing. Bingo. That's what I think. I think if parents were held responsible for their children's behavior or misbehavior, I think a lot more parents would take their job of parenting more seriously, because your child robs a store. Now, not only as a parent are you responsible for what they took from the store, financially repaying back the property owner for what your child stole, but now you got to go to jail for weekends to do community service along with your child who's going to juvenile. Now, don't get me wrong. You punish the parent, but you punish that child as well. So if the parents got to go to jail, and I believe that if the child is in juvenile, then the parents should be doing weekends in jail. And so that way, when their child gets out, they can be like, look, I'm not going back to jail for your bad behavior. So you're going to get your act together. I wouldn't be wanting to go to jail for my child's bad behavior. And I think these parents are lacking in raising their kids, because there's so many different crimes that these kids are out of control. I mean, as early as elementary school, these kids are out of control. And it's like, where did we break down with being able to raise our kids? When the state stepped in and said if you hit your child, it's called abuse. So you couldn't even spank your child because now that's considered abusive. Um, is it when we took the Pledge of Allegiance out of school or we took prayer out of school? Where did the breakdown of these parents that should be raising their kids, where did that breakdown begin? Where did it begin where these parents don't feel the need to discipline and teach their kids better behavior? I truly believe in today's society, if parents were held accountable for their child's behavior, that a lot of these parents would start back to parenting. Because sometimes it's easy to drop your kid off at the mall and say, let the mall deal with them all day, or the roller rink, or the amusement park. If kids under 16 were not allowed to go anywhere without a parent because they don't know how to behave, I guarantee you, you would see a lot less um, crime going on among teenagers. If these parents would stop dropping their teens off at the movie so they could get a break, if your teen goes to the movie, you go to the movie. If your teen goes to Six Flags, then you go to Six Flags. If these teens under 16 could go nowhere without an adult present, and if they were to be somewhere without an adult present, then the parents would get fined for these children being out. I tell you what, there'd be a lot less, in my opinion, just my opinion now. I think there'll be a lot less of these kids getting in trouble because parents aren't going to want to be subjected to having to go and bail their kid out and then be penalized on top of that. So not only as a parent are you bailing your kid out of whatever the situation they're in, now you got to go do the time along with your child for that. I think a lot of parents would take parenting a little bit more seriously, in my opinion, because these kids, it's a difference to fight. Like, I mean, you can have a fight, kids can have a fight, but to take this young lady's head and bang it against the concrete, I mean, I'm like, wow, that's a lot. And then to go from saying hateful things, I mean, you know what? Freedom of speech. If you don't like a person, you don't like a person. If you want to be racist, that's still your choice. But to threaten violence, you're in the, I think they were eighth graders. You're in the eighth grade and you're threatening violence against your classmates because you don't like the color of their skin or because they are minorities. What? And we're pretty sure, I really do believe racism is a learned behavior. I really don't know that kids just automatically grow up racist or they just learn it on their own. I really do believe racism is a learned behavior. But I also think lack of discipline is the reason why that young lady beat that little girl, that other young lady head against the concrete. I also think lack of discipline is why these kids are out here killing each other, robbing and beating up old people. Lack of discipline, lack of parental guidance, um, the foster care is not doing justice to these kids that are in foster care. And I'm not saying that the kids who commit crimes are from foster care. Some of these kids are not. Most of these kids that I talked about today all have families. So they're not even from single parent households. So it's not so much the demographics or their surroundings, it's the fact that these parents are failing to take the time to raise their kids. And until we take the time to teach our kids empathy, teach our kids sympathy, teach our kids how to respect. You don't have to like everybody. That's fine, but a certain amount of respect you should be shown to people. And I do believe you have to earn the rest of the respect, but just common courtesy. That's a better word. Common courtesy, common dignity, um, not so quick to anger, not so quick to be ready to, fight at the drop of a hat. I mean, I remember my mom telling me, sticks and stones may break your bones. Words, words will never hurt you. So when people speak hatred or people say hateful things, it just rolls away because you are entitled to your opinion. Now, if you hit me, I do have to hit you back because that's a different type of me defending myself. But do I have to beat you? I'm already winning the fight. Do I have to then take your head and slam it to the concrete several times? Nah. Once I won the fight, I won the fight. Um, there's no need to go in for the kill. And that's what I think these kids do. They're so, I don't know if it's anger, if it's P, what is that? PTSD or PSTD from post traumatic disorder syndrome. But I don't know if that's what's causing these kids from the whole COVID thing that makes them feel the need to be so, I don't know what it is, to be so violent. Um, I want to say maybe they're still suffering from, being on lockdown with COVID. But am I reaching for thinking that? Something is going on with these young kids that I think if parents were more aware, fully aware, then they could actually do a better job of parenting. I really do think it is a lack of parenting. Um, a friend of mine works for an elementary school after school program. And the story she tells me about elementary kids, um, there's this one story where this little girl, she's in the third grade, and the boys keep pinching her booty. Why? Because she's cute. But what gives the little boy a right to pinch her bottom? Her mom's complained and it hasn't stopped. So at what point does this mom, whose daughter is being assaulted, basically, by these other little boys, does she go to the parents and say, "Can you teach your son not to touch my little girl's bottom? Just leave it alone." And it's elementary ages. Parents don't teach their kids boundaries. And then we wonder why we're in a society of adults who think the only way to earn a living is through social media. Or we live in a society where no one cares or has respect for other people. It's it's horrible what's going on in our generation, our society, our younger people coming up. It's like, what do we need these parents to do to to go back to just being parents and knowing that they're and giving their kids consequences for bad behavior at a young age, so hopefully when they get to middle school they won't continue or they won't have the really bad behavior. Kids are going to be kids to a certain extent, but not when it gets to the point where we're threatening violence. When did threatening violence become acceptable in little kids? And why is it acceptable? Why is that the first um, train of thought for little kids? And why is that the first reaction that they have is to be violent? Not sure. My thoughts are, I always say parenting. Um, Parents need to be more involved. And I think if parents were held um, responsible for their kids' behavior, I do believe the kids would behave a little bit better. But those are just my thoughts. from, you know, a old lady who thinks that these kids are out of control. So that's my thoughts. Those are my opinions. As always, thank you so much for listening to or tuning in to Lawana's Urban Voices. I told you I was going to do better. I really am. It's just been just crazy things going on, and I get so caught up in my own little world that I have things to say, but I just don't have the time to make the video. So thank you for being loyal fans. Thank you for listening. Please share your comments. I love to hear or read your comments about what you guys think that I got right, what I got wrong, what I could have said better. Just any feedback is appreciated. You guys have a great day. It is Thursday, so one more day to the weekend. You guys have a good day. Bye.